probably billions of people with their own home robots, and they're talking to their machines and so on, and they're noticing that the intelligence of these machines keeps increasing year by year. So then the politics will start. People will start taking... They'll no longer consider this question of, should human beings become number 2 species on the planet. That will no longer be a science fiction type question. It will become more and more real, right? Because people will see with their own eyes that their own machines, their household machines, are getting smarter and smarter every year.
And so he talks about the politics coming in. Well, the politics at the moment, which is apparent, is the wokeness, which is the self atomization of the human. It's attacking the white man, attacking the black man, attacking the female, attacking with the transgender. And we're starting to censor ourselves. No longer is it important for facts to exist, it's only important for feelings and your emotions to exist. And this wokeness is coming in and redefining politics and who we are and what we are.
Of our countries now want us to focus on. They want us to be sure that we're beating the pandemic together and discussing how we'll never have a repeat of what we've seen, but also that we're building back better together and building back greener and building back fairer and building back more equal and how shall I, more in a more gender neutral and perhaps a more feminine way. How about that, apart from anything else?
And so I wonder if, in order to bring in these new ideologies of accepting the technological age and the technological creatures in the future, you need to start bringing in an ideology like wokeness, which starts to take to bits very slowly the humans, so that they start to become less confident in themselves and then feel that they ought to welcome in other ideas, ideologies, and creatures. So we're welcoming in the transhuman, we're welcoming in people changing sex, we're welcoming in transgender, we're welcoming in people with body dysmorphia, we're welcoming in people that want to tattoo their faces and chop bits off their faces. And all this needs to be accepted to such an extent that adults that have children that have changed gender get angry if a heterosexual person would not go out with one of those children. So, for instance, in the newspapers in England the other day, a father who had a son and the son changed to a girl was speaking to some people that said that they didn't want to go out with his son because she was originally a boy, and he got very angry. So there's sort of a pressure being put onto the heterosexual to accept people that were once not the opposite sex, and feeling that it's okay to sort of go out with them. And this sort of fluidity around identity, I think, is going to contribute to the acceptance of the new technologies being put into humanity.
So once people start taking it seriously, and millions of people, then you'll start getting the politics occurring. So what political groups is it can we expect? So I need to introduce some labels now. So those people in favour of building these godlike creatures, these artilects, I call them cosmists. So the ideology in favour of building artilects is cosmism, as an ism, right? And why that word? Why? So obviously based on the word cosmos. Well, it's the big picture, right? I mean, there are a whole series of arguments that the cosmists will use in favour of pushing cosmism. And one of them, of course, is, well, there's the whole universe out there, right? There's a cosmos.
So let's look at Elon Musk. See, Elon Musk is doing two things. He's building Neuralink. Neuralink is basically empowering humans to be better than themselves, transhuman, which will lead to post-human. But also what Elon Musk is doing is he is going to Mars. So this idea of cosmists, this idea of going out into space, this idea of enhancing the human body and leaving Earth and going somewhere else is in its infancy already. It's what exactly Elon Musk is doing by building the Neuralink and then building settlements on other planets in order for that science to evolve and amplify. And one of the key reasons why it's going to is because in order to live in Mars, you need to remodify the body. Because on Mars, the gravity won't let you give birth, so therefore you'd have to make the body stronger to give birth, or it would be much more easy to give birth outside of the human. Also, your eyesight would go because of the rays, the gamma rays, because there's no atmosphere to protect you. And also, cancer would be much higher because of that. And if you were not to live on the surface in order to protect yourself, you'd live underground. And if you lived underground, then the light would be different and you'd need to have different type of eyes, so you could have modification for that as well. So the modification is in the process of happening, and the legitimacy and the authority to allow it to happen would be being on another planet. Just in the same way, the authority and the legitimacy to change your RNA or DNA is apparent with little squirty liquids in syringes that you put into your system in order to save humanity against the virus. Mars is there to save humanity against itself, or to save humanity against an asteroid. And so the genetic modification and transhumanism, posthumanism, and cyborgism would be okay there to do that, just in the same way as it's okay here to do that against an illness, which apparently is happening in 2021.
And if humanity decides to build these artefacts, then very likely the domain of the artefacts will be the cosmos, right? I mean, there's a huge cosmos out there. Why should the artefacts remain on our tiny little speck of a planet, in one tiny little speck of a solar system, which in just one galaxy of billions that we know of? And for all we know, there may be other universes in the multiverse. So the big picture says that it's highly unlikely that the artefacts will simply decide to stay on the Earth. So